Hello, good afternoon, and you are welcome to Mining for the Truth. Uh, Mining for the Truth is the process of digging to discover the undiluted doctrines of Christ. The page exists to teach about the truth and then the word. My name is Joseph Atta. I attend Church of Christ. Once again, you are welcome. Last week, we looked at patriarchal dispensation. Last week, we looked at the patriarchal dispensation. We're going to continue today. As promised, I'm going to teach the 3 ages or the 3 types of dispensations. I welcome all my viewers. One sister has joined. You are welcome. I welcome my listeners from Australia, Dubai, USA, Nigeria, Ghana, and all over the world. And thank you for making the time to join me. At times, some have been questioning in terms of doubts. All are welcome. My number is 0248 026557. 0248 026557. You can call, you can chat, and you can donate if you want to. I thank all my donors. I thank you so much for giving me something, either money or data, so that I can come online. Today I am damn late. We are serving God. I have to go and teach my students. Yeah, it is also part of doing the Lord's work. Doing God's work is not about going to church alone, but serving humanity. They needed me, and I had to be there. I apologize for my lateness. Now, I will start with the introduction as I did last time. I will introduce the patriarchal, the Mosaic, and then the Christian ages before we go to what we are going to study today. So today will be the Mosaic dispensation. The appropriate word should be Mosaic, not Mosaical. From patriarchal, you are tempted to say Mosaical, but the appropriate word is Mosaic. All right. Now, as per the introduction, Paul told Timothy. He told Timothy. Remember, Paul was a mentor, and then Timothy was a mentee. Study to shew thyself approved. I'm reading from the King James. It is the King James version which will say steady, but the New King James version will say be diligent. So today I am going back to the steady because I want to make use of the word steady. Steady to shew, SHEW, thyself approved to God as workman that needed not to be ashamed, rightly dividing the word of truth. So the Greek word for steady is spoudazo, denoting or depicting be diligence or be diligent. To be diligent means to be in perseverance. You persevere and then you persist. Consistency. You are welcome, Doris Odonko, for joining. And then the phrase rightly dividing. Rightly dividing comes from the Greek word autotomio. O-R. I made a mistake last week. I said O-T. It should be O-R-T-H-O-T-O-M-E-O. Autotomio. Which literally means to make a straight cut or to cut straight. Some will say to cut straight, but the original interpretation should read to make a straight cut. Now, this draws my attention to illiterate and illiterate. You see, for the illiterate, he or she can't read or write. But the Bible is saying that study. The Bible didn't say learn, and we are aware that reading is different from learning and studying. Reading the Bible is different from studying the Bible. Reading the Bible is different from learning the Bible. Now, when you go to university or training college or any institution, being a tertiary, we buy a handout from lecturers. Now, the first thing to do is to read. So, the serious student may read twice before the lecturer comes to class, because the book isn't your own knowledge. There's no way you're going to understand unless the lecturer comes to class to start, or come for lectures to start to introduce. When he start or when she start to introduce, it's when you make some remarks. And this time you are now going to study the book, or you are going to learn the handout. There's no way you're going to understand when you read. So even in reading, there's no understanding. And we are saying that the illiterate can't read and write. He or she cannot read and write. And the Bible is not even saying you should read though. The Bible is saying study. So Paul was telling Timothy to study and not to read. The Bible is not to be read as a newspaper or graphic. It must be studied. So having 2 or 3 Bibles, different versions, and then you have a concordance, a good and approved concordance. Not all concordances are good, so you need a approved. So there's no way an illiterate can study the Bible. It is, in fact, the person can't even read and write. Even to the literate, not all literates are able to read the Bible, to learn the Bible and then understand. Not all literates can read or study the Bible to understand it. So therefore, they need someone to study and then tell them the stories in. So even to the literate, unless some who are interested, people who are dedicated to learn and then understand, but not all the literates can understand the Bible. So if not all literates can study the Bible, how much more the illiterate? No special intervention, no Holy Spirit in this life will fortify an illiterate to understand the Bible. This is impossible. It means you are dreaming in darkness. No Holy Spirit. And this will never happen. That I didn't go to school, and by virtue of divine intervention, I started to preach the gospel of Christ. You are wasting. It is not true. Unless maybe this illiterate is very good with a specific account language, maybe a hunter, a hunter in Zima Fanti. So therefore, during the growing stages, he had someone to teach him or her the Fanti word. So this person can read the Fanti. So for example, when we are going for personal work, though the person didn't go to school, but he is a good reader of the Fanti. However, you cannot understand the Bible 100% learning from account background, being P, Ewe, a hunter in Zima. It is impossible, because the Bible was first translated into English, and then they also had to extract from the English to their local languages. And you are aware that we have limited vocabulary even in the English. So how much more the account language? Anyway, enough of differences between the literate and then the illiterate learning to understand the Bible. You need academic certificates. You need to go to school. That's why nowadays all the pastors and preachers, they are all going to school. If education is so foolish, so you don't need education to learn the Bible, why will the church employ a preacher who had been to Bible school? Why would the church employ a pastor who had been to Bible school? Because basically you are condemning certificates. That school is not needed to study the Bible. Why are you going to employ someone, a preacher who had been to school before? Sorry for that. Now, to many people, rightly dividing the Bible is a strange concept. They have never thought of the need to break up or apportion different parts of the Bible based of time periods or based on time periods. The covenants or application to different groups of people. Now, if you're not able to divide the Bible into, rightly divide the Bible, how will you know and understand what I'm going to teach? Because you don't study the Bible. You don't know it. So you don't even know that there existed 3 ages, or there exist 3 ages. The patriarchal age, the Mosaic age, and then the Christian age. Unless you rightly divide the word of truth. Yet, rightly dividing God's word is relevant for a correct comprehending of both the Bible and our obligations to God as people living in the 21st century. People say that the entire Bible is written to and then applied to us, but that is not technically correct. There are several ways to arrange. There are several ways to divide. There are several ways to break down the scriptures, including one, by testaments. I'll give you 4 reasons why you should rightly divide, or why Paul told Timothy that rightly divide the word of truth. So also I'm also telling you that rightly dividing the word of truth. When you rightly divide the word of truth, you find 4 key points. 1, by testaments. So here you know that we have 2 grand testaments, the Old Testament and then the New Testament. Someone will say Old Covenant and then New Covenant. So it's when you also know where does the Old Covenant, or whom do the Old Covenant apply to, and who is to obey the New Covenant. So 1, by testament or by covenant. Number 2, by classification of books. When you rightly divide the Bible, you are able to classify the Bible into different books. Of course, we have a historical, a biblical topics, or some part of the Bible is called history. Some are poetic, some are prophetic, some are prophecy. For example, the book of Revelation is about a prophecy, and then epistle or letters. When you classify the Bible into different books, then you know that some are poetry, some are history, some are prophetic, and some are epistles. Now, point 3 of rightly dividing the Bible is that by paragraphs, chapters and verses, you are able to segregate that this is a chapter, this is a verse, and this is a paragraph. This is also the standard feature of the vast majority of Bible versions. Of course, you'll be able to know that this is King James, this is the New King James, this is the ESV, this is the NASB, this is the NIV. And I don't recommend that you should be using the NIV, because NIV, for example, if you go to Acts 8 verse 37, this is missing in the NIV, but you have this in the King James Version and then the New King James Version. Read your King James Version, New King James Version of Acts 8 verse 37. You will see that if you read the NIV, this is not in the NIV. Of course, the story was about Philip and then the Ethiopian Enoch. Some communication went on there, but this is a taking off from the NIV. You go and you read it, either King James or New King James. Acts 8 verse 37 is not found in the NIV. So we don't recommend that you use the NIV for effective biblical study, but of course you can use it for an online course. Example, I'm doing an online program and they have recommended the NIV, but I don't use the NIV to study. I use the New King James and then the ESV. I'm here to go and buy the New American Standard Bible, NASB. Now, point 4, or when we continue the same point, being to divide by paragraphs, by chapters, and then by verses, we think that such divisions of the text were made centuries ago, mainly for convenience in referencing different texts. Now, point 4, by dispensation. When you rightly divide the Bible, you will see that the Bible has 3 major dispensations, being the patriarchal, the Mosaic, and then the Christian dispensations or ages. It really helps to become conscious about how God has dispensed with mankind over the extent of human existence to divide the Bible dispensationally. I repeat, point 4, by dispensation, we think that we have the Mosaic, the patriarchal first, Mosaic second, and then the Christian age or dispensation third. And we think that this will help us this helps the Christian to become conscious of how God dispensed with mankind over the extent of human existence to divide the Bible dispensationally. Now, the whole Bible is written for us, but not all of it is addressed to us. The whole Bible was written to us, not all was addressed to us. For example, when God gave the law to the people of Israel through Moses, ca. 1500 BC. Now, the ca. CA is an abbreviation for circa. And circa is a Latin word meaning approximately. I think I explained last week. When you are not all that certain. When we say approximation, it means you are not all that certain. The thing is not whole. So when you are uncertain, then we say ca. That's why I'm saying that. When God gave the law to the people of Israel through Moses, ca. 1500 BC, one of the laws forbade work on the Sabbath. And the Sabbath means from sundown on Friday to sundown on Saturday. From sundown on Friday to sundown on Saturday. We have sunset and sundown. Now, sunset means fresh or in the beginning, and sundown means at the end. So even in obituary, we have sunset, we mean date of birth, and then sundown, we mean when he died or when she died. So sundown here means in the evening. So the Sabbath is simply defined as the sundown from Friday to sundown on Saturday. Now, so this means that one must not be seen working during the day. And if you go to Numbers 15 verse 32 to 36, God commanded that when one is caught working on Sabbath day, the person must be stoned to death. God gave this command not to Moses or to anyone. God gave this command that when you are caught working on Sabbath, sunset, Fridays, sunset to then you might be killed by stoning. Now let's move on. Does this mean that if we see our neighbor mowing his grass or reading on Saturday morning, we should round up the whole neighborhood to kill him? No. Why no? Because we are not under the law of Moses as they were. So this tells you that this law was given to specific people and not all of us. Even people who say the Bible applies to us are forced to admit that the multiple Old Testament commands to sacrifice animals are not enforced nowadays. Who sacrifice an animal to purge the sin of himself, his husband, or children, or the wife? When we sin, we pray to God for forgiveness. We don't heap any firewood to burn a cow. It could be sheep to God. No. We pray for the forgiveness of sins than making any animal a sacrifice, as some did in the olden days. So I was trying to explain the first introduction. So this tells us that there has been a change of law or dispensation right now. Now, point B of my introduction. History as described in the Bible shows 3 periods of time. As I've mentioned, the patriarchal age, the Mosaic age, and then the Christian age. These terms, these ages will not be found in the Bible. We have no specific Bible quotation, chapter and verse, to prove that a patriarchal, Mosaic, and Christian age. No. But they are clearly defined by its story. Now, a patriarchal age or dispensation, we say that the word patriarchal refers to an older male who leads a tribe or clan. An older male who leads a tribe or clan. So we say progenitor, an ancestor who leads a clan, and God gave all the laws to this one person to pass on to the entire family or generation. So for example, if I'm the head, he tells me what to do, and then I will also tell my family, my wife and children, and even the great grandchildren, in that order. This is all about the patriarchal age. So we say that during this time, God spoke directly to these elders or the leaders. God has not yet given a clearly defined and written law. God then had not given any law. The patriarchal age ended when God gave Moses the Ten Commandments at Mount Sinai in Exodus 20. So patriarchal age ended when Ten Commandments came. Here I was saying that God had then not given any clearly defined and written law. So in Exodus 20, God has now clearly defined a written law, being the Ten Commandments. So when he gave it to Moses, then the patriarchal age ceased. And once it is ceased, it is gone forever and ever. There's no way that the patriarchal age will come to still compete with Mosaic. No. It is dead and gone. All the rules and regulations are passed. They are all buried once and for all. So the books of Genesis, Job, and Exodus were written about or during this time. So all those books were written at the patriarchal age. Now go to Mosaic age. We are on point BII. I'm trying to introduce the ages. Now Mosaic age or dispensation is what we are going to look at it today. All right, so we say that this age is defined by the law that God gave to the nation of Israel. Today, our main topic, or the episode 2, is on the Mosaic age. This age is defined by the law that God gave to the nation of Israel, or the nation Israel. It started when God gave the Ten Commandments to Moses. So you can go to Exodus 20, 1 to 17. The same Exodus 24, verse 12 to 18. You find the commandment there. It is called Mosaic because Moses was the recipient of the law. It is called Mosaic because Moses was the one to whom God reveals the law. He was the recipient. He received the law or the laws. Then he had to also communicate to the nation Israel. Moses recorded it and passed it on to the nation of Israel or the nation Israel. Most of the Old Testament was written during this time. So the law of Moses was recorded in Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, and Deuteronomy. There are also books of poetry, history, and prophecy written during this time. Jesus lived under the authority of the law of Moses. So even Christ himself lived under Mosaic Dispensation. This age ends with Jesus' death on the cross and the beginning of the church, recorded in Acts chapter 2. Once again, we say that Christ came to live under the Mosaic Dispensation, but he was to make this age an obsolete. We mean that Christ, when immediately he has established his church, was when the Mosaic Dispensation became outmoded. And once again, we say that even the Ten Commandments was given or were given to the nation Israel, not the patriarchs. So even Abraham was not part of the Ten Commandments. Now, when the age passed, meaning the patriarchal age passed, we came to Mosaic. So we are no more interested in the patriarchal age or the dispensation again. Fine. Mechanical instrument in worship was the mode of worship for the Israelites under Mosaic or Judaism dispensation. Psalm 105, verse 1 to 6. This dispensation was for Mountain Sinai. to the cross. That is the death of Jesus Christ 1500 years ago. The Mosaic law, 10 commandments, plus additional 613 laws were for the Jewish nation only. I repeat myself. The Mosaic law, 10 commandments, plus additional 613 laws were for the Jewish nation only and did not include all people. It did not include the Gentiles, we mean non-Jewish, including the New Testament Christians. We are not part of this so-called Mosaic dispensation. So today, as I said, our interest will be on Mosaic dispensation. So now let's start the main concept, and then I will take off from there. So we are now on Mosaic. So we're going to look at the Mosaic dispensation itself, the characteristics of the Mosaic dispensation, features of this dispensation. We will also look at the purpose of the dispensation. And then we will also purposes of the Mosaic dispensation. Now, when we are done with that one, we will look at, should we follow the 10 commandments today? So now we start the Mosaic dispensation. Of course, we're also going to look at the drawbacks or disadvantages of the Mosaic dispensation. So the first is the definition or the general overview of the Mosaic dispensation. Number 2, the features of the Mosaic dispensation. Number 3, the drawbacks or demerit. Then we will look at, should Christians follow the Mosaic dispensation? So here we say that the listener will know, or will be able to know the characteristics of Mosaic dispensation, the drawbacks of Mosaic dispensation, or you can say point 2 will be the purposes of the Mosaic dispensation. Then I or C, the drawbacks of Mosaic dispensation, and then the listener will be able to know if we should follow the 10 commandments today. We are on the Mosaic dispensation. Now, we will not even waste our time. Go to Deuteronomy 5 verse 1 to 3. Let's read. I will not even waste my time to prove a lot today, because this chapter will say to us everything that we need to know. Deuteronomy 5 verse 1 to 3. And Moses, please, I am reading from the ESV version. And Moses summoned all Israel and said to them, "Hear, O Israel, the statutes and the rules that I speak in your hearing today, and you shall learn them and be careful to do them." Verse 2. The Lord our God made a covenant with us in Horeb. Verse 3. Not with our fathers did the Lord make this covenant, but with us, who are all of us here alive today. Please, I will repeat myself again. Verse 1. And Moses summoned all the Israel. Did you hear that we mentioned name of Job or Abraham here? And Moses summoned all the Israel and said to them, "Hear, O Israel, hear, O Israel." The Bible didn't say, "Hear, O patriarchs, hear, O Israel, the statutes and the rules that I speak in your hearing today, and you shall learn them and be careful to do them, and be careful to do them." Now, verse 2. The Lord our God made a covenant with us in Horeb. With us who? The Israelites. Brother Moses himself. God made this covenant the Mosaic Dispensation with the Israelites at Mountain Horeb. We move on. Now, verse 3. Now, with our fathers, not with our fathers. So he was making reference to the patriarchs. Here, Moses was making reference to the patriarchal age. Not with our fathers did the Lord make this covenant. So this means that the Mosaic age has now replaced the patriarchal age. And once it has been replaced, it is no more in existence. All the rules and regulations there are buried once and for all. They are sealed. In fact, the age has ceased once and for all. And now a new age has come. Therefore, God has now given them an official written and clearly law. So here we're saying that a Mosaic age or dispensation. Please, the main text for this will be Deuteronomy 5, verse 1 to verse 3. And I think I've explained a lot. It covers the time from Mountain Sinai to the cross. So even this one ended when Christ died. So this means that this was also to pass away for a new one to come and then take charge. Now people here will agree that yes, Mosaic age came to replace a patriarchal age, but they will not believe, they will not agree that Christian age will also have to replace the Mosaic age. It began about 1,500 years before Christ came. God had chosen the nation through whom Christ would be born into the world or into this world. He gave to Israel the Old Testament law to govern them until Christ came. Deuteronomy 5 verse 1 to 5. Now let's read from the 4 to 5. The Lord spoke with you face to face at the mountain and out of the midst of the fire. Verse 5. While I stood between the Lord and you at that time to declare to you the word of the Lord, for you were afraid because of the fire, and you did not go up into the mountains. Here we think that Moses was the only recipient, and even Moses himself was waiting for a new covenant to come in future. Now we move on by saying that it was temporary. So Mosaic age was temporary. Now Jeremiah 31 verse 31 to 33. Let me see if I can quickly read Jeremiah 31 verse 31 to 33. Jeremiah. Okay. So 31 verse 31 to 33. We also going to read from Galatians 3 verse 16 to 19. So I'll read the Jeremiah first. 31 verse 31 to 33. Now 31. Behold, even in my Bible has even written on top the new covenant. Even on top. Before I will even read the new covenant. Behold, the days are coming, declares the Lord, when I will make a new covenant with the house of Israel and the house of Judah. Verse 2, 32, sorry. Not like the covenant that I made with their fathers on the day when I took them by the hand to bring them out of the land of Egypt. My covenant that they broke, though I was their husband, declares the Lord. Now the last verse. For this is the covenant that I will make with the house of Israel after those days, declares the Lord. I will put my law within them, and I will write it on their hearts, and I will be their God, and they shall be my people. So we're saying that the Mosaic age or dispensation was to be the temporal law or temporal age. It was given to the Jews. Now let's read Galatians 3 verse 16. Sorry, I forgot to read it. To prove that the Mosaic age was temporal one. So 3 verse 16 to 19 Galatians. I may not read it because of time. Now to Abraham and his seed were the promises made. He does not say, and to seeds, as of many, but as of one, and your seed, who is Christ. Verse 17, and I say that law which came 430 years later cannot annul a covenant previously ratified by God, and it should not make the promise of no effect. Verse 18, for if the inheritance depends on law, it no longer depends on promise, but God gave you to Abraham by promise. Now the last one, therefore why then the law? It was added because of transgressions, until the seed should come to whom the promise was made, and it was ordained through angels by the hand of the mediator. So we're saying that it was given to the Jews or Israelites only, therefore called Jewish dispensation. So one would not say Mosaic dispensation, one would say Jewish dispensation, because it was given to the nation of Jews, or the Jews only, not the non-Jews, but the Jews. The Jews were the Israelites. It was from Exodus to Malachi. So this ended at Malachi. Now, characteristics of the Mosaic dispensation. 1. Moses was the head. Moses was the Deuteronomy 34 verse 28. Moses was therefore we say Mosaic dispensation. Moses was the head. So Deuteronomy 34 verse 28. 34 28. Uh-huh. 34 28. No. Verse 8. Sorry. 34 verse 8. And the people of Israel wept for Moses in all the plains of Moab 30 days. Then the days of weeping and mourning for Moses were ended. Here we are just trying to prove that Moses was the owner. That's all. We are proving that Moses was the one in which the covenant was named after. So it was named after Moses. Now, point 2. Sabbath law. Sabbath law was in existence. Now let's go to Exodus 20 verse 8. Exodus 20 verse 8. And let's see something here. 20 verse 8. Remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. Remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. Let's go to the same Exodus 31 verse 16, if I'm not miscalculating. Exodus 31 verse 16. Therefore, the people of Israel shall keep the Sabbath. Therefore, the people of Israel shall keep the Sabbath. Exodus 31 verse 16 is saying that, therefore, the people of Israel shall keep the Sabbath, observing the Sabbath throughout their generations. Their generations. As a covenant forever. So Sabbath was given to the nation Israel, not to us. We don't celebrate the Sabbath. Therefore, we worship on Sunday, not on Saturday. Of course, I would teach that Christ even arose on Sunday, not on Saturday. Sabbath has passed away. So if you are you call yourself a Christian, worshiping on Saturday, it means you are worshiping Satan, not Jesus Christ. In vain they worship me, teaching as doctrines the commandment of men. In vain they worship me, teaching as doctrines the commandment of men. Mark 7 verse 7, Matthew 15 verse 9. It means you are worshiping a human being called Moses. Don't think that you are worshiping Christ. Those who are going to celebrate the Sabbath, it is a sin. You will die and go to hell at the end. You sit down there and then be debating. You go to hell. In vain they worship me, teaching as doctrines the commandment of men. So the men, an example here is Moses. And today, clearly, it is here saying that the Sabbath was given to the Israelites and their generation. Are you an Israelite? People who are celebrating the Sabbath and then they are debating. Are you an Israelite? Now Galatians says, verse 16c is saying that we are Israel of God, not the nation Israel. Christians are Israel. Now I will read. You see, let me read so before someone will think that I am blaspheming. Galatians 6, verse 16c, the last end. Galatians, sorry, I'm even on Ephesians. Galatians 6, verse 16. You see, I will even read everything. And as many as walk according to this rule, peace and mercy be upon them and upon the Israel of God. Christians are called Israel of God, not the nation Israel. Or the yes, not the nation Israel. Christians are called Israel of God. And Israel of God is not the nation Israel or the nation of Israel. Nation Israel, nation of Israel is not the same as Israel of God. We are Christians. We are Israel of God. Galatians 6, verse 16c. When you are reading, read the last part. Israel of God. So all those who are wasting their time, energy, resources to worship on Saturday, you are wasting your time. You are worshiping Moses because your worship has died. Your worship now has been buried. We are no more under Mosaic Dispensation. And here, it is clearly here that Sabbath law existed during Mosaic Dispensation. Of course, you can debate me. Or you can contend, and I'll be happy to prove your church in the Bible. Of course, you can't prove it. Your church does not exist in the Bible. Your church, unless you have your own Bible. But what I'm now having can't prove any church. They are all man-made, so we call them denominations, and they exist to oppose God. They exist solely to oppose God, His church. Period. So Sabbath was in existence during the Mosaic Dispensation. Once again, if you are worshiping under Mosaic Dispensation, you are worshiping a human being called Moses. You will die. When you die, you go to hell at the end. So in case you die right now, you will go to Tartarus. And then the final judgment you go to, because you are not in the right covenant. You are in the outmoded covenant. When we go to Christian age, is when you know that Christ and Moses, who is who. Now, point 3, Titan was also under Mosaic age. Now, Numbers 27. Tithe. Those who pay tithes. Now, I am on you. Numbers 27. Numbers. 27, verse 30 to 34. When I finish, I'll go to Deuteronomy. Numbers 27, verse 30. Verse 30 to 34. So 27, I'm there. No, let's even go to the... You see, I want a place where I can even use it to prove my point better. Deuteronomy 26, verse 12. Let's go there and see. Deuteronomy 26, verse 12. 26, verse 12. 26, verse 12. When you are finished paying all the tithes of your produce in the 3rd year, which is the year of tithing, giving it to the Levites, the sojourner, the fatherless, and the widow, so that they may eat within your towns and be filled. So tithe is mentioned here. Now, we go to Numbers 18. Let's go to Numbers 18. 18 verse 21. Numbers 18 verse 21. And then let's see something. Numbers 18 verse 21 to 32. Numbers 18. Numbers 18. You see, I have more quotations there, but I will not read all. Numbers 18 verse 21. To the Levites, I have given every tithe in Israel for an inheritance, in return for their service that they do, their service in the tent of meeting. Verse 20. So that the people of Israel, so tithe was paid by those who were in Israel, or tithe was paid by the Israelites. You see, I will not even waste time to read all. But when you have to read from Numbers 18, 21 to 32, of course, I will teach tithe. When I'm done with the dispensations, as I promised, I will teach more doctrines. A mechanical instrument in worship, tithe, a Sabbath. Why we worship on Sunday and not on Saturday. They are all there. So, read your Numbers 18 verse 21 to somewhere 22. You see it. And then already I've read Deuteronomy 26 verse 12 to 13. You can also find the same thing in 2 Chronicles 31. 2 Chronicles 31 verse 4 to 10. 31 verse 4 to 10. So I will start, and then the rest you read by yourself. And he commanded the people who lived in Jerusalem to give the portion due to the priests and the Levites, that they might give themselves to the law of the Lord. To the priests and Levites, those who are now living and they are enforcing the tithe. Are you a priest? Number two, are you a Levite? I mean, the pastors who are saying that members should pay tithe, and those that I'm asking, are you a priest? Are you a Levite? And who even said that tithe was money, or tithe is money? Tithe in the Bible in the olden days, even to the Israelites, was not money. Tithe was for the Jews only. Tithe was for the Jews only. Let's see if you can prove it in Deuteronomy 14 verse 22 and then 23. Deuteronomy 14 verse 22. 14 verse 22 to 23. 14 verse 22. Okay. But Abram said to the king of Sodom, I have lifted my hand to the Lord, God most high, possessor of heavens and earth, that I will not take a thread or a sandal strap or anything that is yours, lest you should say, I have made Abraham rich, or Abraham rich. It was only given to the Israelites. That's all. Now, point 4. So now we have seen that Sabbath was under Mosaic Dispensation. Tithing or tithe, to pay tithe, 1/10 of your produce. It could be your farm produce. You pay 1/10 to the priest, to the Levites. Now, point 4. It involved instrumental worship. So all those who are playing drums, guitar, and others in their churches are worshiping under Mosaic Dispensation. They will die and go to hell at the end of judgment. So we say that it involved instrumental worship. Now, we are still on Exodus 15, verse 20 and 21. Exodus 15, verse 20 and 21. Then Miriam, the prophetess, the sister of Aaron, took a tambourine in her hand, and all the women went out after her with tambourines and dancing. Verse 21. And Miriam sang to them, sing to the Lord, for he has triumphed gloriously. The horse and his rider he has thrown into the sea. Now you can also read from Psalm 68. Let's go to Psalm 68. Psalm 68, verse 25 and 26. Psalm 68, verse 25 and 26. Psalm 68. Very good. Verse 25 and 26. The singers in front, the musicians last. Between them, virgins playing tambourines. Between them, virgins playing tambourines. So here, you are hereby informed that instrumental music in worship was invented by Miriam. Miriam was a prophetess and a sister of Aaron. Have you found in the Ten Commandments that the Israelites should play music to God? It was a human invention. So here we are saying that it was Miriam who first read from Genesis up to this Exodus and see if we can prove that the patriarchs, they worship God by playing instruments. It was invented by sister of Aaron called Miriam, who was then a prophetess. So she invented, or she first introduced instrumental worship, not God. If you are sinning, don't use the Bible. It is more annoying to God. All those who are playing the organs, you are wasting your time in vain. God has not authorized it. So you are worshiping Miriam and the Mosaic Dispensation. I said you will die and go to hell at the end, because in vain they worship me, teaching as doctrines the commandment of men. Mark 7 verse 7, Matthew 15 verse 9. All what you are doing is to impress a human being. And of course, we don't even say a pastor. My pastor, it should be pastors. One person isn't found in the Bible to rule a church. So even they are misled. My pastor, and you see that they are all worshiping the pastor. So the church must not even be ruled by one person. I mean, he is a human being, and he can sin. It should be two or more. It should be plural. Pastors, not pastor. And one man church. So if you are there, you are wasting your time. Hey, playing drums to worship God. You are not worshiping God. This is what you must know, that you are not worshiping God by playing drums. You are not worshiping God by paying tithes. You are not worshiping God by observing the Sabbath. You are worshiping Moses, and Moses is not God. Moses was a creature, not a creator. Now, point 5 of the features of Mosaic Dispensation. It was for Israelites, or it was for the Israelite only. It was for the Israelite only, because it was a national arrangement. So, nation Israel. Point 6. It covers the time from Mountain Sinai to the cross. Already, I have said this. And then point 7. Israelites as head of the family. Joshua 31. 3 verse 17. Joshua, let me see if I find and then read to you. Joshua. 3 verse 17. Joshua. Very good. So 3 verse 17. And then the same Joshua 13 verse 6. So I read 3 verse 17 first. 3 verse 17. Now the priest bearing the ark of the covenant of the Lord stood firmly on dry ground in the midst of the Jordan, and all Israel was passing over on dry ground until all nations finished passing over the Jordan. Remember, the priests here, being plural, were from Israel. That's why we're saying that Israelites as the head of the family. Remember, they were from one place to the other. So they were to be led by leader or leaders precisely from Israel. Now 13 verse 6 of same Joshua. Some will say Joshua if you want. All the inhabitants of the hill country from Lebanon to Misprot, Misri Fort Mim, even all the Sidonites, I myself would drive them out from before the people of Israel. Only allot the land to Israel for an inheritance, as I have commanded you. Now, who is speaking here? The person from Israel. Now, point 8. It was a national system. Exodus 19 verse 6. 19 verse 6. Please, you should also refer to your Bible, because I can make a mistake. Then later I can correct it. Of course, we are learning. So, Exodus 19 verse 6. I read, and you shall be to me a kingdom of priests and a holy nation. These are the words that you shall speak to the people of Israel. It was a national system. Exodus 19 verse 6. So point 8. Now we are on point 9. Of course, I will give you 16 points or 16 features of the Mosaic Dispensation. Now point 9. It involved animal sacrifice. Let's go to Hebrews 10 verse 1 to 4. Hebrews 10 verse 1 to 4. Hebrews 10 verse 1 to 4. I have a look. Hebrews 10 1 to 4. Good. For the law, having a shadow of good things to come, and not the very image of the things, can never, with the same sacrifices that they offered year by year continually, make perfect those who draw near. Verse 2. Otherwise, would they not have ceased to be offered? So here's a question. Because the worshippers, once cleansed, would have had no more feelings of guilt for sins. Verse 3. But in those sacrifices, there is a reminder of sins year after year. Now, the last one. For it was not possible that the blood of bulls and goats could not take away sins. So, when one has sinned, unless a cow is slaughtered, the sin will forever remain. That's why we're saying it involved animal sacrifices. Now, point 10. It ended when nailed to the cross. Colossians 2 verse 14. It ended when nailed to the cross. Colossians 2 verse 14. Wiping out the handwriting, wiping out, the word is wiping out, and see how the text is even starting. Wiping out the handwriting of ordinances that was against us, which was contrary to us, and he took it out of the way, having nailed it to the cross. Was when this age ceased. So all those who are paying tithing, those who are dancing in churches, those observing Sabbath, who are doing the animal sacrifices, you are wasting your time, because the age has ceased. Now point 11. It involved 15 judges. Now point 12. It had 3 kings. We have Saul, David, and Solomon. They all lived under the Mosaic age or the dispensation. Now point 18. it became a divided kingdom of Judah and Israel. It became a divided kingdom between Judah and Israel. Now, point 14, it involved 16 prophets. If you want to count from when the commandment was received to Malachi, you find 16 prophets. Then we say that, and the 8 was when the prophecies of the new kingdom and the covenant promised to came. Now, if you go to Daniel 2, verse 31 to 44, I will not read everything. I'm going to paraphrase it. But let's try to read the Daniel 2:44. Let me see if I can find and then read it to you or for you. Daniel 2, verse 44. And in the days of those kings, the God of heaven will set up a kingdom that shall never be destroyed, nor shall the kingdom be left to another people. It shall break in pieces all these kingdoms and bring them to an end, and it shall stand forever. This is called the Church of Christ. The rock here is called Petra. Last time I talked about the church. I intentionally didn't treat this. We call it the political world of the New Testament, where you have the kings. You see, this was a dream. Okay? Yeah, this was a dream dreamed by King Nebuchadnezzar. He didn't understand. So Daniel came to interpret it. You see, there was a statue there. Head, arms, the belly, the thigh, the ankle. Were the kingdoms which came. You see, I'm treating a dispensation. So there's no way I can pause to teach the statue or the prophecy in Daniel 2 verse 31 to 44. But I'm giving you a gist that the statue represented the kingdoms, the Babylonian, the Greece, the Medo-Persians, the Roman, before the Church of Christ came. So Christ established his church during the Roman Empire era. Roman Empire, not Roman Catholic Church. It was an empire. They came to overthrow the previous government. War after war. So this one will come to overthrow the other and then become the chief. That's why the Bible is saying that a stone from nowhere came to crush the statue, and the whole thing vanished as vapor, and the stone stood tall for forever and ever. The stone there is called the rock. The rock is Petra. Petra is Jesus Christ. So the church was built on Jesus Christ. Rock, Petra, Peter, Petros. So the church was not built on Petros, Peter, but built on rock, Petra, Jesus Christ. Then already we have also read about Jeremiah 31 verse 31. You can also read Isaiah 2 verse 2. When you go there, you will see that there was the anticipation of a new covenant. Then the last one, it was a law of a schoolmaster. Galatians 3 verse 23 to 25. Let's read it and I'll tell you something there. Why are we saying schoolmaster? I'm saying that the Bible should not be read as a newspaper or graphic. And even to those who have gone to school, not all graduates can say the Bible. How much more the illiterate who can read and write? Even those who can read and write are not able to say the Bible. How much more someone who can write his or her name at all? Now Galatians 3 verse 23 to 25. I will still use the same text when I go to the purposes of the dispensation. So 3 verse 23. Yeah, very good, I'm there. But before faith came, we were kept under guard by law, being shut up to the faith that would afterward be revealed. Verse 24. Therefore the law was our headmaster. So here is the main emphasis. Therefore the law was our headmaster to bring us to Christ, so that we might be justified by faith. Now 25. But now that faith has come, we are no longer under a headmaster. So the Mosaic law was to lead us to Christ, to Christian age. The Mosaic law was a schoolmaster because the schoolmaster, even to our own era, is the person who leads a school. So, for example, he should represent his school to a competition, quiz, it could be a matching pass. So, means that the headmaster will have to lead the population to different era. So, therefore, the Mosaic law or dispensation was to lead us to the Christian age or Christian dispensation. So, that's why we're saying that it was a law of a schoolmaster. And the schoolmaster is capital S, making reference to a proper noun, a name. Schoolmaster. You see, I will repeat the 24. Therefore, the law was our headmaster to bring us to Christ so that we might be justified by faith. So Mosaic law was a headmaster or schoolmaster to lead us to the Christian age. So you sit down there and then be paying tithe, play instrument, then worship on Saturdays. I said you die and go to hell at the end. Yes. Now we are on point II. Purposes of the Mosaic dispensation. Why? Why the dispensation? 1. It was to lead man to Christ. And we are still on Galatians 3 verse 24. Of course, I've read it twice. The law, the Mosaic law, was to lead us to Christ. It was to lead a man to Christ. Point 2. It manifested to the righteousness of God. Romans 7 verse 12. We are now on the point II. Purposes or reasons of the Mosaic age or dispensation. Romans 7 verse 14. Oh, very good, I'm there. For we know that the law is spiritual, but I am carnal, sold into bondage to sin. It manifested to the righteousness of God. For we know that the law is spiritual. The law, being the faith, is spiritual. Now we are on point 3. It magnified and increased man's guilt, sin, or man's sin. You can say man's guilt or man's sin. We are still the same Romans 3 verse 18 and then 20. Therefore, there is no fear of God before their eyes. Now, verse 20. Therefore, by the deeds of law, no flesh will be justified in his sight. For by law is the knowledge of sin. It magnified and increased man's guilt or man's sin. This was under the Mosaic age to prove that you are a pure sinner. Now we are under the grace and no more in bondage. Now, point 4. It typified gospel truths. Hebrews 9 verse 8 to 14. In fact, I can't read everything. So let me see if I can read something from and then we continue. It typified the gospel truth or gospel truth. Hebrews 9 verse 8. 9 verse 8. 9 verse 8. 9 verse 8. Now the Holy Spirit is signifying this, that the way into the holy place was not yet made manifest while the first tabernacle was still standing. It was a symbol for the present time in which both gifts and sacrifices are offered that cannot make him who performed the services perfect in regard to their conscience. So you say that it typified, when you read up to 14, let's see if I can read everything. Since they relate only to foods and drinks and various washings and carnal ordinances imposed until the time of Reformation. Verse 11. But Christ appeared as a high priest of good things to come with a greater and more perfect tabernacle, not made with hands, that is to say, not of this creation. Verse 12. Not by the blood of goats and calves, but by his own blood. The his here is making reference to Christ. His own blood, he entered once for all into the holy place, having obtained eternal redemption. Verse 13. For if the blood of goats and bulls and the ashes of heifer, sprinkling the unclean sacrifices for the purifying of the flesh. Verse 14. How much more with the blood of Christ? You see, even if the blood was able to cleanse, animal's blood, how much more the blood of Christ? That's why we're saying that a typified gospel truth. Here we have more profound, a better blood. You can't compare blood of Christ to blood of a cow. Now the last one, it acted as a tutor. Already I've said it in the first one, that it was to lead man to Christ. So these are the 4 or 5 purposes of the Mosaic dispensation. Now we go to the demerits of this dispensation. Now the first is that it was given to only one nation called Israel. It was given to only one nation called Israel. So this was to the Israelite only, not you and I. Of course, already we have read Deuteronomy 5 verse 1 to 3. It could not justify. Acts 13 verse 38 and 39. Let's see. Acts 13. Acts 13. Sorry, verse 38 and 39. Therefore, let it be known to you, brethren, that through this man is preached to you the forgiveness of sins. You are on the last verse. And by him, all who believe are justified from all things from which you could not be justified by the law of Moses. That's why we're saying that the Mosaic age could not justify. Now, point 3. It could not take away sin. Hebrews 10 verse 1 to 4. And then 11. Let's see if you can read. It could not take away sin. Therefore, this becomes a demerit, drawback, a deficiency, or disadvantage. We are on Hebrews 10 verse 1 to 4 and then verse 11. Hebrews. Very good. I'm there. Hebrews 10 verse 1. Oh, and I've read it already. So I'll go to verse 11. Already I've read it. And every priest stands daily, ministering and offering time after time the same sacrifices that can never take away sins. So you see that it could not take away sin. Now, point 5. It was a yoke of bondage. We are on Galatians 5 verse 1. Galatians 5 verse 1. Stand fast, therefore, in the liberty by which Christ has made us free, and do not be entangled again with a yoke of bondage. Now Christ is here. So why Mosaic law? Now we have Christ. He is more supreme. Why waste your time with Moses? For what? Who is he to Christ anyway? We worship Christ, not Moses. Now point 5. It had no inheritance. Galatians 3 verse 18. It had no inheritance. No inheritance. For if the inheritance depends on law, it no longer depends on promise. But God gave it to Abraham by promise. Now, this depended on no inheritance. So it had no inheritance. Point 6. It was carnal. It was carnal. Hebrews 9 verse 10. It was so carnal. Now, point 7. It was an administration of debt. Let's see something in 2 Corinthians 3 verse 7. 2 Corinthians 3 verse 7. 2 Corinthians 3 verse 7. But if the ministry of death, written and engraved on stones, was glorious, so that the sons of Israel could not intently look on the face of Moses because of the glory of his face, which glory was to be done away. So you say it was so carnal. Only Moses was their mediator. Only Moses alone. So the covenant was not for all people. It was only limited, or the age or dispensation was limited to the nation Israel, or the nation of Israel only. Therefore we say it was carnal. Now, 9. Sins of people were remembered yearly. Also seen in Hebrews 10, verse 1 to 3. Already I've read it, so I'll not go there again. Sins of people and the Mosaic Dispensation. So, for example, you kill someone 24th February 2023. It means when you are sacrificed, let's say, a ram or a bull, a cow, for example. Last year, it means this year too, you must be able to do the same thing. Every year, they have to remind you. Or maybe you killed someone last year. So this year, they have to, do you remember that you killed someone last year? This is not so with the Christian age. When your sins are forgiven, it is forgiven once and for all. Christ has no time to be reminding you concurrently. No. Once it is past and gone forever. Then the last one, as we have been continuously repeating, it was temporarily. So Galatians 3 verse 19. It was, because it was temporary, it becomes a deficiency here, or a demerit. It was temporary. Now we are on the point D, or the IV. Should we follow the 10 commandments? Should we follow the 10 commandments? Number 1, no. In fact, all the answers are no. No. Since Christians are called Israel of God. No, number 1. I think I'll give you a 6 point or so, or 5 points. No, because Christians are called Israel of God. Galatians 6 verse 16c. Not the nation Israel. Deuteronomy 5 verse 1 to 3. So number 1. Christians are called Israel of God. So the 10 commandment was given to the nation Israel, not Christians. So no, since Christians are Israel of God, not the nation Israel. So we say that the 10 commandments were given to the nation Israel at Mountain Sinai when they left the Egyptian bondage or slavery. We are all aware. When they were redeemed from Egypt, then God gave them a law. Deuteronomy 4 verse 13. You will see it there. 9 verse 9 to 10 are all there. You will see that God gave them 10 commandments after they were redeemed from Egypt. Let's read Deuteronomy 4 verse 13. 4:13. Deuteronomy 4:13. Okay. And he declared to you his covenant, which he commanded you to perform. That is the 10 commandments. And he wrote them on 2 tablets of stone. 9 verse 9 to 10. 9 verse 9 to 10. 9 verse 9 to 10. We are still on Deuteronomy. 9 verse 9 to 10. When I went up the mountain to receive the tablets of stone, the tablet of the covenant that the Lord made with you, I remained on the mountain 40 days and 40 nights. I neither ate bread nor drank water. Verse 10. And the Lord gave me the 2 tablets of stone written with the finger of God, and on them were all the words that the Lord has spoken with you on the mountain out of the midst of the fire on the day of the assembly. So we think that this commandment or this covenant or the Ten Commandments was given to the nation Israel, not the Christians or we Christians. Was given to the Jews only, or were given to the Jews only. Now, point 4, we're saying that it had not been given to the patriarchs or the ancestors. Yes, Ten Commandment was not even given to the patriarchs. So do you mean to tell me that they will all go to hell? The Adam, Abraham, Cain, Abel, will they all go to hell because the commandment was not for them, or they died, or their time passed before Moses came? So they had their own administrative rules and regulations, far different from the Mosaic Dispensation. And remember, people who are also under this dispensation did not observe the rules and regulations during the patriarchal era. So we say that it was given specifically to the children of Israel. Now, point 2, no, because in fact all the answers are no. Yes, if you want, all can be no. No, because the command to keep the Sabbath was not required of man before Mountain Sinai. Before Mountain Sinai. So go to Nehemiah. Let me see if I can find it. Nehemiah 9 verse 18. Nehemiah 9. Nehemiah 9 verse 13 and 14. Nehemiah, okay. 9 verse 13. Nehemiah after Ezra, very good. Ezra. So from Ezra we go to Nehemiah 9 verse 13 and then 14. 9:13. Yes. You came down on Mountain Sinai, or you can say Mount Sinai, and spoke with them from heaven, and gave them right rules and true laws, good statutes and commandments. And 14, and you made known to them your holy Sabbath, and commanded them commandments and statutes and a law by Moses your servant. You see, I just wonder, I wonder, you see, the Bible is so clear, so clear, and it is quite surprising that people are deaf and they want to follow man to go to hell. This is so clear. In fact, I will have to repeat again. Nehemiah 9 verse 10. 9 verse 9 to 10. 9 verse 18, sorry. I read. You came down on Mount Sinai and spoke with them from heaven. The you there is God, of course. From heaven, and gave them right rules and true laws, good statutes and commandments. Verse 14. And you made known to them. The them here is the Israelites. Commandment and statute and a law by Moses, your servant. So we say that no, because the command to keep the Sabbath, I mean the 7th day of the week, which was a Saturday, was not required of man before Mountain Sinai. So which means the patriarchs did not even benefit from Ten Commandments. Now, point 2. No, since it was a temporary and faulty, of course, Mosaic law or age or a dispensation was temporary and faulty. There was a fault. Of course, we read it in Jeremiah or Jeremiah 31 verse 31 to 32. The new law would be different from the old. And we say that Jeremiah spoke this 900 years after the law was given at Mountain Sinai. And still 600 years before Christ gave the new law. So this was temporal or temporary and faulty. We continue. The writer of Hebrews in New Testament quotes this passage from Jeremiah. So, and let's see the parallel of Jeremiah 31 verse 31 to 32 in Hebrews 8 verses to 13. It is saying that it is a better covenant. Christ was to bring, so the Christian age is a better covenant. We call it a better testament or covenant or age. So here it reads, Jesus Christ, who is also mediator of a better covenant, which was established on a better promises or on better promises. For if that first covenant had not been faultless, if had been faultless, then no place would have been sought for a second. Mosaic law was good. Why better one to come? So this proves that it was at fault. Should we keep or should we follow the Ten Commandments? No. Point 4. As there was an anticipation for better covenant, we were all looking for a better covenant, as seen in Jeremiah 31 verse 31 to 34. And of course, if you go to Colossians 2 verse 14, Christ nailed the Mosaic age to the cross, thereby giving us better covenants. Hebrews 8 verse 6 with better promises. So we think that better covenants, better promises. Should we follow the Ten Commandments today? No, because a new covenant has made the old one obsolete. Hebrews 8 verse 13. The Christian age or the Christian dispensation came to sack or to eliminate the Mosaic age away, just as the Mosaic age came to bury the patriarchal age. So Christian age came to bury the Mosaic age. Therefore, we are not interested in the commandment. However, was given or were given to the nation Israel. Now continue by saying that for the priesthood being changed of necessity, there is also a change of the law. Hebrews 7 verse 12. The Apostle Paul wrote, having wiped out the handwriting of the requirement, we mean the law of Moses, that was against us, which was contrary to us, and he has taken it out of the way, having nailed it to the cross. So this is the reading from the Colossians 2 verse 14. Christ came to wipe out the Mosaic age. Now we are on a point 6 and 7. We will end at point 7. What should Christians, if you want to put, should Christians follow Ten Commandments? No, because Paul said we are no longer under a tutor. So therefore, the Mosaic age led us to the new age, or I said the new age, the Christian age. Already you have read in Galatians 11:24 that the Mosaic law was a schoolmaster, and we read that the law was a headmaster. So basically, the Mosaic law had led us to the Christian age or the Christian dispensation. Then the last one, should we follow the Mosaic age? No, because the old law was taken away and the new law substituted it. When Christ shed his blood on the cross. Hebrews 9 verse 15 to 17. The moment Christ died on the cross and his blood was shed was when the Mosaic age came to pass. So Christ came to cease, made it obsolete. So now it is no more in existence. Now, in summary, we are saying that it was not required for any people except Israel, for it was not given to anyone else. The law given at Sinai to Israel, which included the Ten Commandments, was made only with the nation of Israel and no one else. No Gentiles. So Gentiles, being called non-Jews, were not required to keep the law unless they became converts to the Jewish faith. Of course, unless you are part of them, they will not even allow you to enjoy their laws. No, because the law, God, in fact, you are hereby reminded that Israel was not the only nation. We had the Moabites, the Canaanites, the Ammonites. In fact, we had neighboring countries. But these 10 laws were given specifically to the Israelites. That's why they were not worshiping idols. But different countries or different suburbs, they were worshiping idols. So God even had to prevent them from marrying them, that they should not marry the pagans, or they will come and then divert their interest from worshiping God to go and worship their idols. So the law or the Mosaic age was precisely for the nation of Israel. Unless you convert, unless you have converted that, no, from now onwards, now I want to be a Jew, then that one, you'll be part. If not, there's no way they're going to allow you. In fact, they will even, you won't even there, because you were not there when Moses was telling them, do this and then don't do that. Yes. Now, we continue by saying, even if the old covenant had not been taken away in Christ, even if the Mosaic law age had not been taken away, it would not be required of non-Jews. Yes. They were not part. We are not part. It was never intended for them. It was never intended for them. So here we are saying that to play music, I say music, to play instrument when worshiping God, to pay tithes when worshiping God, to observe the Sabbath, to go to church on Saturday, are all found or are features of the Mosaic Dispensation, and it is a waste of time. My sister, my brother, I be said, but I will never lie to you. A fact is an information without emotion. I don't care your feelings. Truth is truth that if you are uncareful and doing all the features or any of the features of the Mosaic Dispensation, then in vain you worship me, or in vain they worship, teaching as commandments the doctrines of men. In vain they worship me means God, teaching as doctrines the commandment of men. Today we have seen that instrumental worship was invented by Miriam, the sister of Aaron, who was a prophetess. He invented the instrumental music worship. How? When they had crossed the sea, okay, and then Pharaoh and his subject were drowned, she saw it to be victory. So he met the brother Aaron and Moses together with some women there in tambourines. So she was celebrating a victory. So she was the first person officially in the Bible to introduce instrument or instrumental worship. Not God. God did not. Nowhere in the Bible that we see a law from God that worship me by playing. I've not seen it before. So of course, when I'm treating a mechanical instrument in worship, I will still cite this Miriam that he brought. I say he brought. She brought it. She invented it. God did not invented, or he didn't tell the Israelites that Moses tell them to worship me by playing music. In fact, did you see that they were worshiping God in the Bible by playing guitar? No. So this was by human invention. So all those who are worshiping God by playing the drums, disturbing the environment, are all worshiping under Mosaic Dispensation. And Colossians 2:14 is saying that this law had been nailed to the cross in Acts 2 when the church began, was when this age was wiped out entirely. So buried. All the laws are buried, just as the Mosaic law or age also buried a patriarchal age. So also Christian age has also buried the Mosaic age. Now, having said that, of course, today, now I've said a lot. Now, people welcome in your comment. You think that I quoted some Bible, and you tell me, and then we will all discuss it. Now, next week, God's willing, same time, I'll come and then finish the last dispensation, the Christian age, or the Christian dispensation. That one is the last age. When we are done, that means we will now treat some of the practices and the Mosaic age or the old law, being Sabbath, tithes, maybe playing music, why worship on Sunday, not on Saturday. I will treat all of them here. They are all our doctrines. I wasn't taught officially. So don't sit elsewhere and this man's church, they teach a lot. None has taught me before. No one, before God and man, nobody has taught me about this dispensation. No, it was by the grace of God that I was able to put something on paper. That's why I'm saying that it is very difficult for an illiterate to study the Bible. Do you think it is easy to come by this point? The person can't read and write. So how can you type? You can't even write. How much more typing? So it is not by being taught that I had been taught. No handout from anywhere. No single handout. I used about 3 days to write all the scripts. 3 days. Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. I think I even finished on Tuesday. Just last week, Monday and Tuesday was when I finished. 2 days to finish all the 3 dispensations. It was by God's grace. Of course, I won't tell you how and the way. No. I won't tell you. It is my secret. In the Bible, James 1:5 is saying that if you need wisdom, ask God. So if you want to know the Bible well, I think you can go to your knees and then you pray to God. Maybe He will give it to you. But this is not always so. Remember, in Romans 12 verse 6 to 8, it is there that not all are gifted. So if you're not gifted, you are not gifted. Maybe your talent is also on something else. So having said that, thank you for your time. I will see you again next week, God's willing. My name is Joseph Atta, and my platform is Mining for the Truth, the process of digging to discover the undiluted doctrines of Christ. My teachings are pure, straight from heaven, that if you listen, if you hear, if you obey, and at the end you are baptized into the Lord's church, you go to heaven. By so doing, we are doing a God's work. No one has sent me. I'm using my own money, my own data. Of course, some have been buying me data to come online. So this isn't from my church, but I'm obeying the Great Commission. Mark 28 verse 18 to 20. Mark 16 verse 15 to 16. Go ye therefore and God will bless you. Bye-bye.